starting. I am live now. All right. Hello, everybody. I know I'm a few minutes early, but I figured I would get started now. Not get started, but just hang out here for a little bit, make sure that everything is working how it's supposed to. So if you are seeing this video, feel free to say hi, to like it, to leave a comment. That helps me, that lets me know that people are seeing this as I get ready to do this. How's everybody doing tonight? Make sure that I can share this in the event page so that people can see this. All right, so it's Wednesday, October 19th. Gosh, can you guys believe that there's only like a couple months left in the year? I'm sure everybody hates hearing that. All right, so, the video is already going in the Facebook event page as well. That is awesome. Cool, I didn't know that it would be right there at the top of the screen. That's nice. All right. Oh, wow, people are already commenting. I haven't even noticed this. Sorry, everybody. Hello. Hi, Casey. Hi, Gigi. Hi, Mara. Hi, Sonia. Good evening, everybody. This is exciting. I know, this year is going fast, isn't it? Awesome. Hooray. I'm so glad that people are seeing this. I have to admit, I was a little bit nervous about tonight just because the last time I did this, I probably waited several months in between doing poetry readings here on Facebook. And in between that time, Facebook's live streaming capabilities and permissions changed. And so all of a sudden, it was my fault. It was my fault, obviously, because I didn't do my homework. I just assumed that everything stayed the same. But it didn't quite go as well as I would have liked it to, technologically speaking, last time. So the fact that this is doing exactly what I hoped it would do right now, it makes me very, very happy. All right, so it is now 7 on the dot. So for anybody who's tuning in now, welcome. I'm so happy you're here for my new Facebook Live poetry reading. As I was just saying a moment ago, it's been a little while since the last time I did it. I think I checked the other day. It was April of 2021 the last time I did it. So yeah, I think this is a thing that we should do more often. How about the rest of you? Yeah, so I know that people are already chatting away in the comments, which is awesome. Feel free to keep doing that. I'm not sure I'll be able to really respond to comments much during the reading, but that's okay. I will look at them later. So a couple things real quick before I start reading the first poem. So tonight's reading is going to focus on, it's not really a particular theme, but I'm going to be reading a lot of poems that are in the manuscript for my first full-length collection. I'm still in the process of looking for a publisher for it, but that's going to change soon. That is going to change. I'm going to find one, and we're going to finally get this book out. That would be fantastic. So there'll be probably some old favorites tonight, but also maybe some poems that you haven't heard me read before. I do have some newer ones that I'm planning to read as well. So there'll be a mix of poems tonight. And also, for anyone who wants to show your support for the reading and my poetry, in the description for this video, as well as the description on the Facebook event page, there are links where you can send a donation of an amount of your choice. Donations have started coming in for this, which is fantastic. Thank you to everyone who has done that so far. But if you haven't had a chance to do that yet and you would like to send in, a few dollars, whatever works for you, that would be very much appreciated. You can do so using the links to Ko-fi, PayPal, and Venmo. Again, that should all be in the description for this video or in the description for the event in the Facebook event page. All right, and without further ado, let's get started with some poems. So, the first one I'm going to read for you tonight, it was requested by Sonia, so thank you, Sonia. This one it's actually the very first poem in the manuscript, and it's one of my favorites. An origin story of Cape Cod. Let's start at the beginning, 23,000 years ago. Your parents were the Earth and Laurentide, an ice sheet stretching from the Arctic Ocean all the way to what would be later known as the islands of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. If anyone had borne witness, they would have found a cold crust of white as far as the eye could see. This didn't happen all at once, of course. Patience is both virtue and necessary evil when you need about 5 centuries to emerge. But not once did you complain as, leisurely, your more glacial parent retreated north. In 3 lobes, it scraped over bedrock, carving and molding you into moraines, cames, and outwash plains, as if with the sculptor's tools, but no final design in mind. In its wake, it strewed all manner of rock debris over you, miles upon miles of till, gravel, sand, and boulders, hundreds of feet thick. But you didn't mind. You liked the way the meltwater streams dressed you, how their deposits filled your deltas and expanded west, how leftover lumps of ice melted and made jewel-like kettle holes across your peninsula. You even chose to bear your relict valleys, your riverless battle scars, with pride. You couldn't fathom then that one day you would be robed in pitch pines, marshes, and cranberry bogs, or called home by piping plovers, seals, and humans. You didn't even care about your name until the Wampanoag and the Nauset called you Turtle Island, and the British colonists Cape Cod. No, that long ago, your only care was that you were born, and to be born means to exist, and to exist means boundless possibilities. Ooh, this next one is also an oldie but goodie. Breath of a Humpback Whale. Listen. What do you hear as the humpback breathes? Of course you know the exhalation, that soft, moist explosion like a wave breaking upon the shore. But what about the inhalation? The sound which the naturalist who's narrating the whale watch said is her favorite in the world, and we should keep our ears open for it. Yes, I know, I can't concentrate either. I too want to watch the whale and see the smooth slope of her glistening back, her glacier body gliding, cutting the surface before she dives down again and lifts her tail flukes to reveal the white prints of her name. And so many sounds are competing for our attention. The chatter of the other passengers, the susurrus of the ocean, the whipping of the wind, the rocking of the boat. But sometimes, to hear the new and unfamiliar, you have to do as the naturalist said and cast your awareness out over the water toward the horizon. There. Do you hear it? Long and low and fathomless. as if the whale is drinking from silence, as if a brontide is rumbling from the deep, as if the earth is drawing a gasp of wonder that some of us, like you and I, still remember how to listen. All right. This next poem, I really don't know if I've read this poem much for readings or open mics over the past couple years. Probably not, because I wrote it during the pandemic, or at least I got the idea for it during the pandemic. And this is the poem that currently closes out the manuscript. So it's called At World's End. Hingham, Massachusetts. Have we come to the edge of the world? It certainly seems so here, where the farthest path follows the rim of the peninsula before circling back toward the mainland, where the wide, winding trail that beckoned us here resembles a long, abandoned, tire-worn carriage road, where a wall of oaks, maples, and catalpas shield us from the Labor Day boat traffic in the harbor beyond, and we can drink up the peace that's encouraged by the crisp shrilling of cicadas and the crunching of grass underfoot. It's the postcard image of an ending, and yet, on today, my birthday, I stand only in beginnings. A new year in the summer of my existence, another year of sunlight warming my skin. Another year of living as verdantly as drumlin meadows and full leaf canopies. I look back at you now that we're standing in the shade. Then at our hands, fingers intertwined like the limbs of the century-old sentinels surrounding us. Then back at the fence of trees just before the shore. We could always turn around, visit the rocky beach and the tidal marsh, walk the other paths that weave through the park. But the barrier ahead can't keep out the salty heart call of the sea, or hide the blue water that shimmers through the gaps between their trunks. And the burgeoning wild child in me thinks, what if there was no edge of the world? What if you and I, or anyone, could defy the name of this wildlife sanctuary? Would you come with me? Follow me if I tugged on your hand to see what lies on the other side? Would you walk through that doorway to the sky, the ocean, the future? Then find your footsteps quickening until you're running because your blood flows hot and blazing bright like sunlight. How far would you go? What paths would you find? Would it feel like heaven or a little bit like home? Let's find out, shall we? All right. How's everybody doing so far? Like I said, I'll probably wait till later to check out the comments and see what people are saying, but feel free to keep going, commenting, tell me what parts of each poem you like, what lines stand out for you. Say hello. Let me know which poems you enjoy most as the reading goes on. That would be fantastic. All right, this next poem is for Jennifer. As some of you know, I get a number of my poem ideas from traveling, and so this is one of quite a few poems I've written based on my travels to Iceland. So this is Riding a Horse in Iceland. You have to trust the horse. It will know what to do as you ride. The instructor doesn't say this, but the way she mimics how to sit in the saddle and her gentle hints as she describes the differences between a tolt and a trot say just as much. I take her advice and dress myself in it, along with the rented helmet and boots, the gloves I borrowed from a friend, and my courage. I might not be afraid of horses, but learning how to ride one at age 34 can still pitch your heart into your throat. Outside, the horses wait for us, calm, almost sleepy in the early April chill. I learn my new friend's name, Aphrodite, a piebald beauty standing 5 feet tall, 3 inches shorter than me, when holding her head high, her winter fur molting off in patches. She can be a bit headstrong, the instructor warns. She likes to ride ahead of the others. But the horse shows no sign of impatience as I stroke her mane and back. Instead, she embraces me, bending her neck so I am between her shoulder and her head. She even remains calm as I struggle to swing my leg around to sit astride her, as I correct my posture and my grip on the reins, as I hang back so we're in the middle of the pack when we walk out of the pen. Am I ready to be at the front? I ask myself. Soon enough, Aphrodite answers for me, weaving around our companions and striding into the lead, the bounce of her body and the muscles in her abdomen shaking me, shifting my center of gravity. My chest clenches at her quiet insistence, but I don't question it now that I see what she wants me to see, the lava fields that are both maze and playground. Every step up, down, and around on our tour, she gestures with her head as if to tell me, look at the towers of rock around us, crusted with basaltic black but brick red underneath. Look at the lichen, that velvet chartreuse, the grass, dry and long as hair, shining gold in the daylight. Look at the islands of snow and the ponds they create when they melt. Look at the mountains that meet the sky to the north, south, and east, and the pillars of hotels and church steeples to the west. Can you believe you're still in Reykjavik? And look at the steep rise in our path, narrowed by boulders, and how the world opens wide as we crest it. Do you see how your face glows with the cool wind, the defiant sun, and the taste of adventure? Do you see it? Yes, Aphrodite, I whisper, breathless from the pace, the views, and the truth in the instructor's advice. Yes, I see it all. All right, this poem I know is definitely a new one. This was inspired by my trip to Iceland last year. This is called Sunset over Stykkishólmur. The sky is all passion and wildfire tonight over this small Icelandic fishing town. You and I didn't know we would find this when we left the coffee shop for Sugandise, the lighthouse rock. We were distracted, after all, as we walked up the access road. 2 cardboard cups of hot drinks were in your hands, the takeaway box of blackberry skyr cheesecake and plastic forks was in mine, and all we could see was the harbor, full of sleeping boats, the ferry parking lot, where cars were waiting patiently, and each other. Up we climbed the steep steps carved into the rock face until we reached its summit. Somehow, the grassy spot where we're sitting now was unoccupied, even though we're not the only visitors. We could have settled in one of the benches along the worn earth paths, or next to the small, unpiloted lighthouse. But anywhere else, we wouldn't have been as comfortable or as natural, side by side, as if bound by the hip, and we wouldn't have had this view. This slow explosion of marigold, peach, and orchid, licking the clouds' bare bellies and the quivering water below, darkening to shades of mauve and heather as it ripples away from the retiring sun. And the rocks and islets in the bay resemble whales surfacing off the coast, and the Arctic terns alternate in solos of shrills and screams, and and the immeasurable sea beyond looks like promise, looks like peace, looks like a painting almost complete, its brushstrokes soft as our breaths, as eventide cross-hatches the world over and over and over. I managed somehow to capture all this with my camera, and as I lay my head on your shoulder, I'm struck by how this evening is all the more vivid, all the more vibrant, because you and I are witnessing its unfolding together. Take a quick tea break. All right. So earlier this year, I visited Italy for the first time. And this is one of the poems I've written about the trip since then. Morning yoga in the Tuscan countryside. This is your studio, the blue sky ceiling, a floor of dew-drenched grass, the mid-May sun for your lighting and heat. Walls don't exist here. Everywhere you look, columns of cypress trees stand as still as Buddha statues. Rose bushes burst into red, pink, and white blossom flames. And, straight ahead, over the green sea of hills, the towers of San Gimignano rise, proud sentries of this small town for almost 1,000 years. You unroll your mat in this sunny spot for that very reason, and face not the front, but sideways, so you can take in the view as you begin with gentle stretches. Seated twists give you other glimpses, the terracotta roofs of farmhouses and villas, rows upon rows of vineyards and olive trees, the pond of aquamarine water near the agriturismo's fence. Soon you flow into cat-cows, low lunges, high lunges, reaching tall each time you salute the sun, murmuring your thanks as you fold down, and pausing a few seconds longer than intended whenever your eyes meet the towers in the distance. And even though you've been breathing this whole time, this is when you breathe. Above and below, into and beyond, as if your cells, your skin, your feet, your hands have all learned how to inhale and exhale, absorbing the ancient Centro Storico and the verdant landscape the way chlorophyll absorbs light. And just when you think the countryside has little else to feed you, you settle into Shavasana. And as you lie still, the land gifts you with the perfume of roses, jasmine, and lemon trees, and the music of birds chattering, roosters boasting, cows groaning, bees and flies humming, and you swear your body is still moving, because how can you remain motionless when this world, this morning, bids you to awaken? All right. This next poem is named after a street that's not too far away from me. This is called Moose Hill Street Lullaby. Am I awake or dreaming? Some days it's hard to know when I'm driving down this street. Winding, serpentine, for 2.5 miles, it leads me away from Route 95's chokehold of traffic as I commute to work. This morning is one such morning. It's been 3 weeks since the last time I slept a full night, and in these early days of autumn, the falling maple seeds remind me of the nature of my thoughts, tail spinning, but never crashing, because the earth retreats farther and farther away. It's a violent vigilance, this anxiety, yet so deceptively quiet that no one knows I'm suffering unless I tell them so. But the trees on this street, their leaves barely touched by the ochre of September, they know. So do the cows grazing in the fields, the walking paths lacing through the woods, the ivy scaling oaks and telephone poles. Even the man-made things, houses new and historical, a meadow of solar panels, hissing high-tension lines. They whisper as I pass, saying, "You are safe. This is not a dream." I want so badly to linger here, to pull over the car, curl up among the roots or in a small cave, and hibernate until spring. Instead, I reach the end of the street, exhale to relieve the drowsy ache from my eyes, and know I'll be back tomorrow for more of this street's lullaby, until I remember how to sing my own again. So another place that has inspired a fair number of my poems over the years is Cape Cod. According to what my parents have told me, the very first time I visited that area of Massachusetts, I was only a year old, and we did all kinds of vacations there, and now my parents live there, and so does my brother. So it's really a place that has just sort of, it's now in my blood, and I love it, probably just as much as any country I have visited outside the U.S. So this is one of my other Cape poems for tonight. This is called Fog Rolling In from Oyster Pond. Now it creeps in from the pond toward the shore, so leisurely that it eludes the naked eye. Only 10 minutes ago, it posed a faint and silvery threat as it hovered above the gentle waves and the marina's empty boats. Now it crawls across the abandoned beach, slithering at a patient pace, swallowing each crumb of the coastal terrain, the water's edge, the grains of sand, the thick heads of marsh grass, the vacant parking lot and outhouse, the weathered and food-stained picnic tables, the neatly trimmed rose bushes and hydrangea, and finally Queen Anne Road and the intrepid cars on her tongue. Now this elbow of land is a wraith, a turbid shroud that's wider than the great egrets who mate here in the summer, so pale yet so bright that you might swear a swarm of ghosts is approaching, then lose your footing and your breath. Now you cannot help but gaze at the softly blinding wall, cannot help but marvel at how the sky has lowered itself to the earth, how its teeth of mist don't bite, but rather graze your skin in cool, sweet beads, how the embrace of its milky arms is more tender than the smothering you expected, how you subscribe to sightlessness for a moment so you can say you've touched the clouds. All right. This next poem is for Gigi. So Gigi is a friend of mine who does a number of writing workshops, and she hosted one, I don't remember when it was, maybe fall of 2019 or 2020, but it was a spider archetype workshop, and this poem came as a result of that workshop. So thank you, Gigi. This is called The Spider. The spider knows what she is doing when she picks the exact place where she'll spin her web. She builds her home herself, using her body and the silk she creates. She needs no help, no instruction. The spider does not hurry her construction. She knows her work is painstaking, that it takes time to form what will sustain her. Her shelter, her invention, is a product of her intuition, connecting her to branches, rafters, blades of grass and dead flowers. The spider sees in many ways. Her eyes, the sensitive hairs on her legs, the dainty plucking of strands on her web. This helps her determine whether the fibers need reinforcement, a potential mate has come to visit, or a fly has been trapped for her next meal. The spider means no harm. If you find her in your house, invite her to stay and feed on the flies that pester and the mosquitoes that bite. If she prefers your backyard, let her live there instead. Her feet will not absorb pesticides into her bloodstream, and she will crawl to a safer tree. Whatever you do, do not remove the spider from your world. If her kind were to vanish, other insect populations and their diseases would multiply. She cannot afford to be lost to legend, found only in the stories of the weaver Arachne, the trickster Anansi, or the Cherokee grandmother, the Lightbringer. So when you see the spider on your wall, or the frame of her web on your porch, ask yourself if it's necessary to kill her, if it's necessary to wipe that corner clear with a broom when you know she will only come back to rebuild it. All right, so I'm just looking at the time here. It is 7:29 Eastern. 2 more poems, okay? So we will go a few minutes over if that's okay with you. But I have 2 more this evening that I would like to read. So this first, I guess I should say the second to last poem this evening, is in their manuscript, but it also is you can also find it in this anthology, From the Farther Shore, Cape Cod, and the Islands Through Poetry. So yes, this is another Cape poem. This one is called At the Sandwich Glass Museum, and this is another one that Sonia had requested, so thank you, Sonia. Every hour on the hour, the glass blower dons his protective sleeve and readies his tools at the museum's furnace, a freestanding brick pillar that could be mistaken for a chimney. In front of a crowd of 30, a class from the local elementary school, he introduces himself, explains where the glass nuggets come from and what he's going to make, but not how he'll make it. The students and teacher nod, rapt despite sweat beading on their foreheads. After all, they're here to learn the how. He takes the pipe, one end immersed in the furnace's 2,000-degree heat, and reaches deeper inside to the crucible of molten glass. Out he draws his first gather, pear-like and comet white, kept on center by the constant spinning of the pipe, his fingers turning the rod as deftly as a spinner spinning wool into yarn. He blows a breath through the pipe's cool end, trapping air inside the glass so it inflates, then sits at his bench and shapes the swell with the closed blades of his jacks so it's smooth and symmetrical. Back and forth the glass blower moves from the glory hole to reheat the glass, to his bench where he sculpts it with his jacks and a water-soaked block. Sparks flying like fireflies, steam rising from the contact. To his feet again to blow more breath into his incandescent bulb, or to let it run, pointing the pipe downward so gravity can elongate the honey lava with its bare, unseen hands, and once to coat it in cobalt blue frit. His movements all the while mimic a dancer's, fluid, deliberate, expertly timed, choreographed over years of training in this ancient Syrian-invented craft. Eventually, at his bench, he uses his shears to cut, jacks to ply, and tweezers the size of kitchen tongs to twist and tease the glass into its final form. And in these cinematic movements, history comes full circle, each motion paying tribute to Deming Jarves, the Boston Sandwich Glass Company, and all the master craftsmen who brought their delicate, igneous art with them from as far away as England and Ireland. All these lessons are reinforced in the museum's exhibits and glassware collections, yet none of them will draw the same delighted gasps from the audience as the glassblower's newest creation. A whelk shell, veined in blue, so lifelike it could have been plucked from Town Neck Beach, just over a mile away. All right. So this poem I'm about to read is the last one of the night. So before I read it, I just want to share a couple of things with all of you. If any of you are interested in seeing me read my poems live in person, I will be the headline, or rather the feature poet, at next month's edition of Pour Me a Poem, which is the open mic I recently co-founded with Wayne Daniel Berard. That is Thursday, November 10th at 7 p.m. at the Pushcart Cafe in Mansfield, Massachusetts. So if you are interested in coming, I will put the Facebook event page for the open mic in the comments after I'm done with this reading. If you are a poet and you would like to take a poetry workshop with me in the future, I've got one of those coming up soon as well. The ekphrastic and beyond, so it's going to focus on ekphrastic poetry or poems written in response to works of art. Should be a fun class. That's Wednesday, November 2nd at 6 p.m. Through Zoom. I will plug the registration link for that class in the comments for this video as well. Once again, if you are interested in showing your support for this reading and my poetry, there are 3 places where you can send a donation of any amount you feel comfortable donating. You can use Ko-fi, Venmo, or PayPal. The links for those 3 sites are included in the description for this video, as well as the description on the Facebook event page. I can't think of anything else. So without further ado, I will close out tonight's reading with the title poem from the manuscript. This is in Ars Poetica, which means it's a poem about the art of writing poetry, and it is called Wild Gardens. I hold ideas for poems like seeds in my hand, and there are thousands of them waiting for the brush of the breeze, their invitation to come out and play. Of their own volition, they leap out of my palm into the air and land where they choose in the open meadow. These seeds all appear the same at first, smooth, round, black and brown, shining from the tender touch of morning light, until they each take root and grow of their own accord. Each one knows the shape it desires, an ocean of moss and ferns, a tree with a thundercloud canopy, a shrub resembling a beehive, or a burst of daylilies. And I've learned that none of them take kindly to premature guidance from pruning shears and shovels. Instead, I let each garden become a wilderness until it tells me the time has come. Softer than a birdsong, louder than a chorus, each one will whisper in my ear how it wishes to be sculpted, how it wants to be watered and fed. And while I am the caretaker of these gardens, I am not the only gardener, because they all nourish me as I nurture them, speaking to me in petals, pine needles, and exhalations, as they guide me through each step of their maturation process and teach me how I too can grow. All right. Well, this was fun. I'm so glad we finally got, or that I finally got around to doing this, and I hope all of you enjoyed the reading as well. If you want to watch the reading again, this will be available shortly after the recording is done. And how about we do this again sometime? Maybe not another year and a half from now, but maybe sooner. Maybe this is something we should do quarterly. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, have a good night, everybody. Bye, and thank you again for coming.